We used to be obsessed with checking campaigns, like literally refreshing again and again.
I put too much pressure on myself to be profitable right away, and it made me lead into a lot of bad decisions.
Okay, so welcome to Amazon Ad Talks. I'm Farida Bayumi. I'm a six-figure Amazon seller and owner of Brand House, the agency, and I'm joined today by Gavin Chueng. Gavin, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
My name is Gavin, and I'm the co-founder of a company called Motion Gray. We're currently selling in North America, Australia, and we're entering the Japanese market. We primarily focus on home office furniture.
That's really cool. So today we're going to be talking about the lessons that we wish we knew sooner as business owners. We're going to go over the biggest mistakes that we made as sellers and how you can learn from them so you don't have to make the same mistakes. So Gavin, what are some big mistakes you made as a beginner on Amazon?
So the biggest thing that I wish I knew at the very beginning was all about testing and learning. So when you first start a campaign and you enter into, let's say, the Amazon world, you expect everything to be perfect right away. But in reality, a lot of times, campaigns are not going to be perfect. So right away, what I noticed is that I put too much pressure on myself to be profitable right away. In reality, that's usually not the case. And because of that, it made me lead into a lot of bad decisions. So for example, if my campaign was not profitable, what I would do is I would immediately decrease a lot of the budget and the bid, which would end up leaving results that were even further not my optimized results. And because of that, I never really got the data points that I should have gotten from these campaigns. Is that what you've noticed too? Like, what was the biggest mistake you had?
1000%. I mean, I wish I knew first about the daily budgets to set for my campaigns, because we would be very conservative at the beginning, just probably too scared that the campaign would spend too much and not be profitable, very similar to your situation. But once we learn to increase our daily budget and knowing that it's not necessarily going to spend that entire daily budget, but just room to breathe, that made a huge difference. I also have another learning, which is not to pause campaigns too quickly. So we used to be obsessed with checking campaigns, like literally refreshing again and again, so many times a day. And that led to a lot of impulsive decisions of pausing or canceling campaigns that we thought were spending too much at the moment. So this leads me to my next question, Gavin, which is how often would you optimize your campaigns or check your campaigns? Would you do it daily, weekly?
Yeah, when I first started, I had this horrible habit of checking it every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would even look at it multiple times per day, and I noticed that this was actually very bad and unhealthy because number one, it would interrupt my workday. And on top of that, I would make irrational decisions with my budgets and my optimizations. Now, I would say the main thing that I do differently is I only look at it, maybe I would say once to twice a week. I noticed that that's a good balance for me. What have you noticed?
Honestly, same thing. At the beginning, we were obsessed, checking every single day. I would say that we now check every day for certain metrics, and then we check weekly for other metrics. Definitely my seller app is always on, and I'm constantly refreshing it and always checking it every day. But in terms of the ads themselves, I don't do granular updates every single day because I just found that sometimes the decisions that I'm making are just too impulsive and I need room to actually perform, especially when starting out. I would give maybe 1 week, and then after that, we go in and make those decisions. And on the weekly, we also have other metrics, which are more high level. So I would say, for example, like the daily budgets, so changing those, and also adjusting like day parting, things like that are a little bit more high level for us. We do the weekly based off of the data that we got the last week.
Yeah, and I've noticed that if you are too proactive with optimizing your campaigns, Mondays are not the same as Saturdays, for example. Oftentimes you can get different types of results. And if you're making a decision based off of Monday's data, it won't be probably correct for the weekly average.
That's actually a really good point. So comparing Mondays to each other and Tuesdays to each other, weekends are different than weekdays. That's a really good point.
Yeah, because I don't think the average person wants to buy things as much as a Saturday versus a Monday. But having said that then, like how much revenue would you allocate towards a budget for their campaign?
Yeah, so we usually allocate around 15 to 20% of our sales or of the price per unit towards ad spend. But we also keep in mind whatever budget that we set, we're not necessarily going to spend that entire budget. So at the beginning, we are a little bit more frugal. And then once we find those campaigns that are doing really well, the keywords, the ASINs that are converting really well for us, that's when we see no harm in scaling those and increasing the budget because we're able to get a really good return on ad spends.
Yeah, I think that a lot of beginners, they get very intimidated by the ad spend because they think that they might have to spend loads of money, which they might not be used to spending at that point because they're a new business owner. But one thing that I've really noticed too is that oftentimes when it comes to spending on campaigns, if your campaigns are profitable, you can start spending more on these campaigns. And over time, these campaigns usually become more profitable. So for example, like what have you noticed with your organic ranking as you get more sales with the sponsored sales?
Yeah, I mean, we have campaigns that maybe had a relatively high ACOS, but we noticed that because of those campaigns, and we can't directly attribute it, but we did notice that with those campaigns, our organic rankings increased, and so the organic sales increased. So it's very important for us not just to look at ACOS, but to also look at TACOS, because we have so many different marketing efforts going on, and with our ads, it doesn't just reflect directly through the ad itself, it also reflects overall in our overall sales. So we noticed that actually when we paused one campaign that we found to have a high ACOS, and we noticed that our organic sales also dipped and the organic rankings dipped. And once we turned it back on, our sales increased again, but they weren't directly attributed to that campaign. So it's very important to check TACOS.
How quickly would you increase your budgets usually?
Honestly, it depends on how profitable. So if we find that there's a keyword or an ASIN that's super profitable, and by super profitable, I would say that maybe our ACOS is 10%, we would increase, like I would double it and then maybe the next week increase again. So I wouldn't do increases every day, but I would do them probably every week and just watch how the larger ad spend is performing, because it won't necessarily convert. Like if I double and then double again the week after that, it might not necessarily perform like it used to. Sometimes you have to do adjustments and optimizations, of course, but definitely on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of times when a campaign is profitable, you can really increase the budget as much as you want because it's profitable. So the more you spend, the more you profit. It doesn't concern you. So having said that, now that we have so many campaigns in our at Campaign Manager, how would you name the product, or do you have any naming convention tips that you have for the audience?
1000%. So we name our ads. It's a pretty standard way to name the ads, to be honest, and you can tell me if you name it the same way. First of all, of course, we have portfolios for each product because we have a lot of different styles. And then we also have other products other than sunglasses. So we have to create portfolios for each product so that everything is organized and we're able to collect data properly. And then under these portfolios, we would first start with the type of campaigns. So sponsored products, we would do SP, for example. We do dash and then the targeting type. So for product targeting, we would do PD. So it would be SP dash PD. And then we also include how many targets are in this campaign. So if we have, for example, 4 ASINs, we would do SP dash PD dash 4 ASINs. Or 3 keywords, I would do 3 KW. And then it's really important for us to also put the dates, just so that we know when we started this campaign and how old the campaign is. How about you? Is it the same way?
Yeah, I would say overall, I do it like that now. I think it's very important to do this because when you have a lot of campaigns, you do get overwhelmed. And even for me, like I noticed that there's sometimes when I'm optimizing campaigns, I will miss a campaign because I just didn't name it properly before. And when I search for it, I can't find it at all.
Yeah. So you find that this is a good way to name the...
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I wish someone told me sooner because now I name it like that. But when I first started, I would just make it up on the spot. And now it's super messy.
Definitely when I first started, I wasn't using portfolios. And so my campaigns were just all over the place and it was really messy. And it's the same way as you, we would miss campaigns that we would need to optimize and we would mix them up. So portfolios was also really important to organize our products. So Gavin, let's talk about that one advertising advice that you got that changed the game for you, that changed the way you do and run your ads. What's something that really stood out?
So someone told me before to not expect to be profitable right away. This changed my mindset when it came to launching products on Amazon because it made me be more patient with my campaigns. So for example, when I first started, I expected to make money right away. But in reality, a lot of times campaigns need time to stabilize and you need time to pull data from these campaigns to further optimize your campaigns. On top of that, what I also realized is that as you get more sales with these sponsored campaigns, what's going to happen is your organic rank is going to increase, as you mentioned previously, which makes it so that spending is much less down the road. But because when I first started, I was very nervous about the money being spent, I would make very irrational decisions all the time. What about you?
Yeah, definitely the same thing for me. I mean, something that really stood out definitely was to look at tacos rather than ACOs, and this has changed the game for us because we're able to make better informed decisions. We're able to not be so irrational, like you're saying, with pausing and canceling campaigns that are maybe spending too much, but then we're not sure why our organic rankings and organic sales also dropped with it. So looking at tacos has been very important. And then also that high ACOS can mean that, this is increasing our organic rankings and our organic sales. Yeah, this has definitely changed the game for me. How long would you say it took for you to start seeing like profitability with your ads and for you to start actually understanding that these ads are an investment and sticking to it?
Yeah, so I think this actually took me a couple months in.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I was very nervous and
Yes.
I went online to search for a lot of resources to teach me what I'm doing wrong and incorrect. And then as I started realizing that sponsored campaigns are and is an investment, it's very important to be patient. And because of that, at around, I would say the 6-month mark, when I started becoming more patient, my campaign started doing much better because I gave it time to pull in data and I also allowed myself to optimize it properly. Still to this day, I sometimes do get nervous or I get really anxious about new products that I launch. But I always have to tell myself, like at the very beginning, it's fine if it's not profitable. It does take time for campaigns. What about you when you launch products?
Yeah, same thing for us. To be honest, when launching products, we always do auto campaigns. We need to collect data, and I think Amazon is the best tool to collect data to know what people are searching to try to find our product. And with sunglasses, it's a little bit different because even if it is sunglasses and the new style that we're launching is still a pair of sunglasses, but it's so different in terms of the shape of the glasses, in terms of the color. So someone that's searching for rectangular glasses might not want the cat eye sunglasses. So the search terms are so different, although it is the same product. If it's black, if it's pink, if it's brown, we have to include all of those in the search terms. So running auto campaigns is very important for us. And then taking the search terms that we got from that and running exact campaigns, that has really worked out for us when launching new products. And of course, like you're saying, being patient and waiting the campaigns out and giving it room to actually perform. And with the daily budgets, to not be scared and to not be frugal, because we would set such small budgets, being scared that it would spend too much, but it actually needs room to breathe. The campaign needs room to be able to spend and to not be stuffed with a lot of keywords.
Yeah, that's totally true. And oftentimes I've noticed that it's really weird. It just does better over time.
Yes.
So having said that, what are some main takeaways you would have?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it takes time. So be patient with your campaigns. Success and profitability doesn't happen overnight. So you really need to give it time more than a week. I would say maybe a month, maybe 2 months. So just be patient with your campaigns and to keep optimizing the campaigns. What about you?
Yeah, I would say try your best not to get overwhelmed by all the data. I think that when you first get into something, if you can build momentum, and momentum is through having small steps. Small steps is by understanding, let's say, the key metrics that you want to focus on, like for example, ACOS and tacos that you talked about.
Yes.
I think that once you start learning small parts of the campaigns and you feel very comfortable, then you can start getting more complicated with your campaigns. And then from there, start scaling.
Yeah, 1000%. And another key takeaway would also to organize your campaigns in an efficient way in terms of portfolios and naming the campaigns, because knowing your data is very important and being able to pull reports easily is very important. So this is going to help you make better data-driven decisions.
Is there anything that you're super excited for in the next year?
Yeah, so we have actually acquired a new Amazon business. The product is towel warmers. So it's a new venture, new product, completely new space for us, but we're really excited about it. We're excited to launch new designs for it, and it's probably going to be not around the summertime, probably around the fall, because that's when most people are using towel warmers. But it's a product that I personally love, so I'm very excited to get into that space.
How's their launch and Amazon ad strategy when coming to the market?
Honestly, again, auto campaigns to start for probably the first couple of weeks because we really need to collect data, and we're probably going to use also like the third-party tools like Helium 10 or Jungle Scout to collect search terms. Again, completely new space for us, so we need to do the research all over again with sunglasses. We've been selling them for 3 or even 4 years now, so we're well seasoned with that. But with towel warmers, we need to do the data collection again. So auto campaigns and then launching sponsored products for Exact and then rods as well. And ASINs, targeting ASINs, because there's so much demand for towel warmers and it's not that much competition. So it would be really beneficial for us to target other competitors that have a similar review count, maybe less ratings than us, with similar review counts. And that way we would be able to hopefully win the sale. What about you?
Yeah, one of the really cool things that I just want to add on is that once you learn how to launch a campaign properly, one product, they're all really the same. So once you learn how to optimize your campaigns once, you can really add it onto your other campaigns in the future.
Yes.
And the one thing I always emphasize is this skill is something that's very important in e-commerce in general. Once you learn how to optimize your PPC ads, you can do Google, you can do Facebook ads. You're going to really be able to grow your business.
Testing and learning is so important, and knowledge is power. Once you know how to do it, you're right. Once you know how to do it, then you're good to go for your future product launches. It's basically the same thing. Yeah, what's something that you're excited about for?
I'm excited about launching my products. Right now, I am still in the process of looking at different products, but this year we've really gone into fitness products.
Cool.
So fitness and electronics. They're a little on the larger side, which means that there's difficulties there. But having said that, I've also noticed that larger products also are less competitive because the average person wouldn't want to get into it.
Yes.
But then I'm pretty excited about that because there is a couple products that I did find in China during my trip that I am in the process of confirming all the small details.
Nice. That's really cool. So thank you so much, Gavin. This was awesome. Thank you so much for joining the Amazon Ad Talk.
Yeah, thank you too, Farida.
Yeah.